Da 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 da. Hi everyone, and welcome to the developer chat for what day are we on now? It's the 7th, right? April 7th, 2008. That's going to be in the recording, isn't it? Gosh. We have special guests, of course. Me, the Chaz, and introducing Helper Yoko.
Thanks for the warm welcome.
I lost focus of the window, and of course no one can hear me when I lost focus of the window. That isn't necessarily what you guys mean by voice outside of window, right? You guys shouldn't be able to speak in the window when you are outside of the window. You should just be able to hear out of the window when you're outside of the window. Right? Right, yeah. I'm smart. SMRT. I'm in the window. I was just taking a chug of my Coca-Cola Classic. Have a Coke and a smile. Alright, well, since Helper Yoko can't hear anything right now, which I don't know why, I'm going to type for just a moment, and I'll say out loud what I'm typing so that Helper Yoko can hear, or read. So I'm introducing Helper Yoko, who is our brand new customer care manager. Yay! I don't know if she wants me to answer that, or if I should answer that, or... Pretty much it's one of the... she's basically the replacement for Svengali Bob.
It on? I didn't put it on.
So she'll be in charge
That's
of
weird.
the customer service department.
I was inside the zone box, too. Inside the zone box, and talking.
She is very new, so
No,
let's
I
let
can't
her
hear anybody
ease
talking in the zone
into...
box. Oh, let me fix my volume. This is a different computer. Hold on. Yeah, this is my husband's computer I'm trying to operate on.
Hi, Banshee. The people in the zone box can hear you, though.
Oh.
I had to log out and log back in to fix it.
Oh, can I just leave the premises and come back? Or just
I
be
tried
moderated
that, it
and
didn't
work.
come back?
That actually works if you actually manage
Okay.
to go outside and come back in. But let's.
Yeah, not
If it
always.
doesn't if it doesn't work for you, I'll try to turn the Zomebox off and on again.
Why not just do that anyway?
Yeah, just do it.
You can do it. I was gonna say, ain't it just easier to just talk outside the box anyways? I think everybody can hear you.
Can you guys all hear me?
Oh,
Yep.
yes. Thank
All
you.
the leaves are brown,
I can hear you.
What?
and Chagall is gray. Yay! You guys can't hear me now.
Yes.
So, welcome to Yoko. Thank you for coming to the meeting and just saying hi. Gonna let her ease into the position and not let you guys rip her apart just yet.
I appreciate the easing in.
Yeah, you should watch out for that Merrick guy. He don't let him like corner you or anything. If you see him approaching, you should just teleport away.
Thanks for the info.
As a matter of fact, you might as well just put him on ignore now.
Poor Marin always gets picked.
Well, he makes it so easy. Then he picks on me too. Alright, so let's get started. I am sure that most of you guys know how this works. If you don't know how this works, then I will reiterate here. And that is, I'm going to set myself to thumbs up so that you guys can IM me, and just send me an IM if you want to interject a question, and then I'll ask you to ask your question inside of the zone box. But for the most part, I hope that you guys can let the speaker speak and not interrupt. Let the question askers ask questions and not interrupt, so we can keep this in a very timely manner. And I just got like 10 million event invites. So let's get this show started. The Chaz, I'm sure that you have many things to talk about.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
What?
This is a new laptop, so my other one died last week. So hopefully you can hear me okay.
I hear you just fine. I'm just cheesing. Chagall started it.
Wait a minute, my ears are bleeding. How's that? Okay. So the last time, hold on one second.
Last time, hold on one second.
There. Okay. So the last time we spoke, we were just getting ready to migrate towards the new submission system, and we've since done that. So we've been running. Still hot. Okay.
Maybe you shouldn't eat the microphone while you're talking into it.
But the microphone tastes good. Is that good?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, so we've been running on the new submission system, and I think we've kind of been working out the kinks with that. Sonny's group seems to be doing pretty well with it. A lot of the work that's being done right now with that is stuff that you don't see, so it's kind of tuning it towards what product submissions needs. So it's still an ongoing project. I also put out there for feedback the My Submissions page and got a lot of good ideas, mostly about the search functionality. The next thing that will be coming up is the reskinning of the developer site to match and fit in with their central. We're trying to get away from that hidden site and bring that in. Also, when we're doing it, we're making it a little bit easier to edit the pages. Right now, if you add a new link to the side, you have to edit every single page. So it's kind of a pain to add pages to the current developer site. So that's being improved. You should see that hopefully soon. And aside from that, after the developer site, we'll begin work on the My Submissions, or we'll start pushing that out. So the next My Submissions page that you'll see is geared towards making it more functional. So adding some features like being able to see if an item is listed or not, making it a little more intuitive as far as the status messages go. Just adding more functionality to it. And then the third release after that will build on that and add things like search features, tagging, and things like that. So if you haven't seen this, check out the developer forum, and there's a thread in there about the My Submissions page. Next on the list, the customizable cars, the SUVs, finally got fixed with the last client patch that went out. So once you finish this, I'll ask for a little feedback on the SUVs and what people think of them. We also had a thread going on 2 other cars. I know that there was some talk about adding an interior to that, but those items kind of have already been built and paid for, so we'll just have to go with what we have with those. And a big project that's going on in the background, and you've seen this first item from it, is making items more interactive. So this is building some of the framework so we can create more interactive items. In terms of interactivity, we've just released Hearts, which Tabletronics designed the scripts for, and I think a lot of people like it. I see them around everywhere. Pretty fun. And the last thing before we open it up to questions is I started doing the sticky threads a while back, and this was in response to people saying they didn't know what was going on as far as new things, threads would get buried. And I'm curious what people think of that, if that's going well or not.
Yeah, besides their forum guidelines being knocked down a couple of notches and not at the top, what other kind of complaints do you guys have for this?
Okay, good. That sounds like those are going well. So before we just open it up to the questions, I'm just curious on what people think of the customizable cars, as far as the SUV goes, now that everything's working with them.
Well, personally, I think the downside is always going to be that you can't do a try-it on them.
Can't do it or try it on the items, right?
Right.
That and they're real slow.
That, and if you buy a bumper or some rims and you go to the About on it, it takes you right to the SUV to buy one. It won't give you the About on that actual object.
Now that's good feedback.
Now, how do they compare as far as developer items go to the Scions, which the Scions aren't the customizable type. How do they compare to those? Well, just as far as the SUV gives you the ability to build individual parts for them. You can build the tires, you can build the bumpers. Aside from the speed of the vehicles themselves or the look of the vehicles, if a new vehicle came out, are you looking for more of the customizable type with the various parts? With the limitations that we know about with doing triads and the about and things like that, or the Scion type where it's basically the old style painter vehicle.
Well, I mean, I've tried painting them, and I think the resources on them, and they're pretty low. I mean, it's pretty pixelated on the images that come out on them.
I think you probably can answer that question better yourself too by, what do you see sales-wise for the SUV and the accessories versus the Scions? I think the Scions are probably doing better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bias it by sales. I'm curious on if you prefer one over the other, what those reasons are, and so I'm going to kind of bring that back. So even with some of the limitations that we know, as far as the auctioning of parts and the try-it and things like that, you still like the ability to do individual parts, and that's kind of a big plus for you guys. It's not out of the question. It's not currently planned, but it's not out of the question to do that. I mean, you still have the same limitations right now. You can't do try it on. You wouldn't be able to do the try it on those parts either. Well, it's not. It's not currently scheduled. That's what I mean. And I don't mean to say that there'll never be a try it to that. If that's important to you guys, I'll continue to push for it.
You are a very conscientious shopper, Seisher.
How are they doing as far as auctions go? The resell of the items. People that have sales of, say, Scions versus, or even the older painter styles versus the SUV parts. I was asking how the... No, I have to finish the car parts before I can do the props. That's why I'm trying to get feedback on them. You can't resell, right? That's correct. You can't resell. You have to sell them with the. Unfortunately, Merit, we have 3 other vehicles to get done, and we have to wait for the last client for it. So, can we remove the bake for sale option or to add try it option? I can suggest.
If it gives us...
I'm sorry, just let me mention one other thing too here. This meeting's being recorded, so some of these questions that or remarks that are coming out aren't going to get passed on.
Passed on to who? I'm actually writing all this stuff down.
All right, no, I'm just saying, passed on to people who are going to want to monitor this. So I'm saying a lot of these comments people are typing in, I understand, we have to type that, but some of these remarks that are being made may be better if they're spoken.
By the way, Vash, you know about chat history?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Merritt.
Just save you a whole bunch of typing.
I'm writing down the key parts. For example, I have here in huge bold letters, will not buy without try.
I think I told Faz that once, too. She smacked me.
She should just smack you anyway. Somebody should make that into a sound clip for me.
Okay, I'm a little confused here, because wasn't there an issue in forums not long ago where somebody had baked the parts on their SUV, but the Try It still brought out the ugly little gray one?
Yeah, if you do a Try It on an auction, you're not going to see the parts. You're actually just going to see the original vehicle.
Okay, so then what's the point? I mean, not to sound rude, but so we're forced to buy another SUV to sell or just basically hit them, but we don't have the option to try them.
Heading in and out. It's all right.
My biggest concern on those is if you buy parts and you put them on there to see what they look like, and you decide you don't like them, you can't return the parts. That's one thing. But when you try to put another part on there, like another paint job or something, you lose the first paint job you put on it.
So I guess that's the question. So, there's a lot of issues that have been mentioned, and I guess even with those issues, if another vehicle came out, would you prefer it was of the part style, or would you rather it be just a painter item?
Me, I like painter.
So I guess that's what I'm asking, Francis. The muscle car would be great with changeable wheels as long as you know that you can't do try it on the wheels, you can't auction the wheels. If you auction a car with the wheels, the person can't do a try it on that auction item. I mean, all those, I can push for those items to be fixed, but right now those are all the limitations of, the custom parts. So you think the catalog image is is a good enough solution for that? Well, the two items that are scheduled after the customizable cars are completely finished are the props and uh, the seating groups, the additional seating groups. Until they're done, Merritt. Well, the two cars were in auction, so uh, they're mostly, I think, mapped okay. There wasn't any issues with or for the most part with the mapping. I think there were a couple things that came up in the review. Um, so I'd guess it's probably another month out. Yeah, there were a few issues. It wasn't drastic though. Okay. If you want, why don't we open it up to just general questions?
I have a few questions already from the. These were questions that were added to the MAB agenda, and I asked the MAB to uh, shelve them until this meeting, so I get to ask you at this meeting, so they could be answered here instead. So I have several questions from the MAB. Item number one. See, the thing is I'm reading these, and I don't know exactly what they mean, so you're going to have to try and figure it out yourself. Item number one, expanded dimensions on shop 5 and 6. 80 width by 80 length by 40 height, limitations instead of 40 by 40 by 40. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
The bigger size specs is on the project list.
Yay! Is everyone excited about that?
Is that like a suggestion board?
It's a list of developer projects to prove that I'm doing stuff.
I got a question about that.
If you have a question about that specific item, go ahead and ask it.
Okay, if they're going to up, like say, you know, like you said, 80 by 80 by 40, are they going to bump the resources up so everything don't look so crubby?
Yeah, and higher poly counts would be, I mean, for collisions would be the big.
Yep, yep.
I don't know what those specs look like just yet, so I would guess that, you know, we're talking about something with expanded everything.
Well, are we being quiet for a particular reason? I missed something. I'm going to ask the next question anyway, from the MAB. I also have some people lined up. I have Fox30 and Doc D lined up for questions. But I'm going to ask the next MAB question, which is additional collision polys for developer items. Would it be possible to have a client-side only base collision of 500 polys in addition to the server-side collisions that have limited to 120 polys?
No, you wouldn't be able to do that. If you did something like that, you'd end up with, first of all, a problem trying to distribute it since the model is yeah, the models would have to be distributed differently because, you know, they're distributed from the servers, so they have to match that way. And then the other problem is the server would constantly be rubber banding you as it thought you were supposed to be in a different place than the client.
All right then. Let me start getting some of these questions out of the way. Fox30, go ahead. Looks
Yeah,
like a question.
I'll find out how we can do that. Unfortunately, these are exactly to the spec of how they were delivered to me, so unfortunately, I guess when they were designed, they weren't tuned very well. But I'll add that to the list since we're working on custom cars.
Yeah, because the SUVs, I could almost outrun them in my bunny slippers.
I can probably outrun them with my bionic Vash.
I've seen video of Sonny running down Majambi on a hoverboard.
So that would change the speed of them across the board. So, one day you'd log in and they would all be changed. Any issues with that?
No.
That is actually a really good question because sometimes people get a little irritated when we change it across the board because some people like things the way that they are. Do you think anyone would have issues with us changing the speed?
I wouldn't. I would put that in forums. I bet you would get about a 10,000-page forum thread.
Even in beta, if we get 20 people that are okay with it in beta, and then we release it to production, it's often a very different crowd that's going to see it.
I'll use the bunny slippers as an example. Super bunny slippers walking speed is really slow, and I know that there were some people who were asking for us to change the speed of walking speed to being normal, and then lots of people said, no, don't do that. The slow walking speed is cool. Just wear regular bunny slippers if you want to walk normal. So that just makes sense to ask that question. Anyway, the next question is from Doc T.
A simple question. Is there ever going to be a change in policy to the card tables not being givable, lendable, or sellable? I've got 8 stuck in my inventory for 4 years now.
That is a great question.
It's not so much policy as far as it's a limitation on how the card tables work. There's basically 2 parts to the card table. There's this story kit, which is the actual thing that makes the card game work. It's the rules and everything. And then there's the game table that you drop. It's basically a combination of a quest kit and a game table, a chat prop. When you buy it for the first time, it gives you a hidden item in your inventory, and those 2 things are what makes the game table work. The problem with being able to sell it is if you sold it, you'd only transfer over one part of it, and then 2 people would have a broken card table. So that's why the limitation.
Well, then can I rephrase that? Is that ever going to be fixed so that the limitation's no longer there?
Yeah, I tend to think that would be a good thing to fix, because that would make it a little more popular for people to buy these without having to worry about are they going to be stuck with it, or will they be able to transfer.
All right, on the card table issue, is there any more plans of more games coming out?
Yeah, there's another game that's in the works. It's a 2-player game. I don't know if it's been finalized which one it is, but the next one's going to be a 2-player game.
Yeah, like someone else said, Euchre. I would love to have that game in here.
I think it might be, but don't quote me on that. Although I suppose he just recorded it.
I mean, you got a lot of 4-player games out there, like Euchre and Pinochle and.
Funny that you mentioned that, Francis. I think maybe there should be solitaire for those specific players that want to play with all their friends.
The next ones that are coming up, are going to continue being card games, although there's more functionality being added to do things like putting multiple cards on the table, and some of the card games have some more restrictions But it is also thought to do something like a chess or a checkers or something like that.
How about both on one table, and then you pick the option whether you want to play chess or checkers?
I'd beat you all at chess.
There was a long time ago a project to separate the games from the table, but it's kind of a big change. I don't know if that's how realistic that.
Oh, like a floating checkerboard that you could just put out on a regular table?
I think it was more than just. It was pretty much just a concept more than anything. I think they wanted to do it, but they never built anything that actually did it. Between the two of them, I would probably make the card table so you can transfer them. That's just my opinion.
I think that the next question comes from Banshee Kate.
Hi. Oh.
Hi.
Did you want me to ask that myself? Okay.
You can ask it yourself, or I can ask it. I got it right here.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I will. Is there ever going to be an email system similar to what we used to have, only one that works? For example, I don't know when my things come in anymore. There's no more email to tell me that my items are in World. Will we continue to have to check our dev pages, or is there any kind of email system in the works to alert developers to things like that?
Yeah, actually, the My Submissions page that you see now is kind of the start to the page. The next part of the My Submissions page actually includes the ability to reply to messages and to appeal and the two-way, and also alongside of that is a interface to see kind of like a mailbox type look, so an inbox, a sent items, that type of thing. I believe that is pretty close to being completed. So instead of getting it, through your Yahoo email or through Gmail or something like that, you'd use your in-world email client.
I'm not sure I understand. That's still their mail. Did their mail get fixed?
It's actually not their mail. It's another mail system, kind of a replacement to that.
Related to Fuse?
It's not related to Fuse. You'll see more once it comes out. It basically will give you something like a Yahoo, except for it'll be built into the client or their central, so you can go and see your inbox and everything.
You're tapping into another email service so that we can get our developer alerts?
Right. So your developer alerts that you see on your submission page, that's actually part of the new mail system. But there will be another page that you can see in more of a web-mail type format with your inbox and everything for sending out mail and replies.
But Chaz, that's all internal, right? Kate's asking about an external feed.
Yes, Merritt's right.
That's what we're trying to get away from, because we send out things and they just get caught by spam filters and things like that. So trying to rely on email to do submissions type things is just, we've kind of proven it doesn't work very well.
So
it'll start with the submission stuff, and eventually we hope to completely take over all of their mail. So you guys will have your own separate their mailbox that you'll have to check. So
in World or logged into their pages.
Right. So it's similar to what you see on like a MySpace. You go to MySpace and it has its own email system built into it.
Oh, I haven't gone back there in a million years.
It's just
okay.
it's just a mailbox that you have in there, just to keep stuff internal, because sending stuff externally, we keep basically are sending out so many thousands of emails, and it's being caught by spam filters and so on.
Okay, I guess that answers it. I will always have to check a there page to see if my items came in. That's my bottom basic question.
Beastie Boys, though. What the heck?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
The next question is from Robert James.
Hey, Vash, before you leave that,
What's up?
just a point there. I understand why you don't want to rely on internet mail for communicating outwards, but there's no reason that you can't send out mail if you have an internal mailbox as your fallback.
Well, for the time being, I think that we're going to focus on getting the mail up and running, and then when it gets down to the point where that actually works, then we'll start thinking about adding alerts to your actual email addresses further down the line, because of course
Right.
we can.
Right,
what I would-
I was
as
about to
we're-
ask,
as
yeah.
it's growing. But for now, everyone jokes, their mail is called Where Mail, and that's because sometimes, someone will send out 100 event invites, and those event invites will be, start cramming up our external web stuff, and then their mail goes down, people don't get their mail for weeks, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, their mail servers aren't working again. So let's just cut that part out of it.
So what I would recommend is, when the new email system goes into beta, just mention these things that you'd like to still see some sort of alert. Similar, I think that still is similar to what MySpace does. When you get a new email message at MySpace, it sends you a little, you got a new email message, and kind of just sends you a link to it. So if that's important to you, just include that when you're talking about when you start doing the beta on that. And then the other thing, it was asked, when we see this, the back end for the email system is actually in production now. So what they're working on is the web portion of it. So you should see that pretty soon.
I think calling it an email system is going to be misleading to many people. I really do. I think it should be called a message box or something similar to that.
I don't know. Yeah, Yahoo calls it a email system, and most of them, MySpace, InView, Facebook, pretty much call it your email.
Oh, okay.
Or just mail or whatever. I think the technical name is In-World Mail. I think that's what it's being called.
In-World Mail.
Or their mail service or something like that.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could come up with a nifty little name for it other than just simply email, because that really does sound like it will go to your real email.
We'll just call it their mail.
Yeah, without calling it that.
The next question is from Robert James.
All right, my question is there anything in the works of releasing, whether it be Painter or Builder, so people can make their own hair? Kind of like with the fig leaf option, that you can't go beyond a certain length on the hair.
Well, sort of. The next item that's after the customizable cars is the props, and one of the things you can do with props is actually put them on your head. So you could make things like hats and even faking hairstyles with that.
Okay, well, I can understand that, but my concern, I like the hats and stuff that we already have, but they give you such a small area to paint for the hair color and stuff like that. But I would like to be able to do more multiple color hair, like you see with the Bozo hair, the rainbow color.
The hair isn't mapped so that you can paint it with a texture. You know that, right? You can only paint the hair with a single pixel of color. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that.
Right.
Right.
Actually, there are quite a few of them which are mapped halfway decently.
Which ones could we do texture on?
Diski has tested all of them. She would know which ones. We used some when we were making some of our movies, like Land of Their Lost. You can see Chaka having, furry hair. They're pretty realistic. That's the Farah I think we were wearing when we were doing that.
All right. So the next question down is from Francis 7.
Oh, you want me to read it? Well, actually, I guess, Chaz, my question was, so after developer cars get done, then did you say props was next, or is there something else next?
The next two items are props and seating groups.
Props being the first one?
Right.
That makes me happy, thank you.
That makes you happy. Awesome. If that's all it takes, sweet.
And I'll say that those two are my recommendations. If I get told, of course, to do something else, then I have to do something else. But those are the two that I'm pushing for.
If we could have those by Halloween of this year, we would be so dang happy.
I'm going to have him actually work on specific emotes for only Vash to use, and no one else can use. So that's what's going to tie up his time for the next 6 months. That was a joke, by the way. Ha ha ha. Ha. Fuck 30's next.
I just didn't know if they was ever going to do anything with the developers page, like rejected items or needs revision, any way for us to remove those off the page so it doesn't make it, taking up space.
So the third version of the My Submissions page, the third release of that, some of the notes I have on hiding items, tagging items, so you can basically do search of items and not include certain things that you've decided that you don't want to see them or whatever.
Our next question is from Sissy Main. I think that the answer to that first question I won't be able to answer. I'm not sure if the Chaz will be able to answer either. That would be more of a question for the operations team. Am I right about that, the Chaz?
Yeah, I don't have any information on those.
Check 1, 2. I hear Merritt.
Yeah, Vash is off playing again.
I was waiting for to finish typing her question.
Sissy did finish the question, the second part.
So I do not think that we have the answer to either of those questions in this meeting, actually, but I will be sure to bring them up. Next question is from Merritt.
Oh, are you waiting for me?
Yar. I mean, you want me to ask your questions for you, or?
It doesn't matter. I can ask them. Chaz, what's the difference between avatar hair and a head prop?
Avatar here requires that you weight the hair properly. If you don't do this, you end up with welding issues, or you can actually have problems with the hair just crashing the client.
But that would mean if you made a hair prop, it won't size, right?
Right.
So it's not a great replacement for hair.
Right. Yeah. The building the clothing scoots, they're called, requires that you build all the various morph targets. You have to weight them properly. There's quite a bit of work that goes into them, and if they're not done correctly, then the spa settings don't work right, and all the way up to they crash in world.
Okay, I just didn't want people walking away thinking they were going to be able to produce half-decent hair.
I don't think the props is going to be used that way anyway. I think that they're going to have, from what I've seen of props, I think it's going to be some really cool little additions like backpacks and purses and face masks and googly weird hat things.
Want to put money now on a bet on how much hair is going to show up?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be it's not going to be as good, but I mean people have made hover pack dresses, so I mean people tried doing different things, and I think there'll be a lot of creative things that will come out of it.
Can we make a target date for that of a couple of weeks before Halloween or a month before Halloween or something? Is that possible?
When was the last time we had a target date?
It's just wishful thinking.
It's actually sad, Kate, that you're letting them go all the way to Halloween.
And you had a second question, Merritt, followed by a question from Carcass.
My second question, Mr. Chaz, since you're adamant that you're going to finish all the custom car designs, why would you not offer a car template that you're giving out to the third parties before you finish this then?
A car template, what do you mean?
A builder template, like a hoverboat, hover bike, but one for a ground vehicle.
Because I was told to release the four cars I was given.
Oh, how you've changed.
When your boss tells you to do something, you do it.
Well, pass that along then, please.
Are the custom cars from VMTV or something? Why do we have these custom cars that aren't just plain builder cars?
The pimpable, customizable car is from VMTV. That's where the code came from. It was then changed to make it so that way you couldn't do unlimited pimping of cars. But that's where that came from.
Unlimited pimping. I think that's the quote of the day.
In case you missed it, Carcass typed 3 times this question.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you answer Carcass's question? Will the developer zone ever be given function to view detail/light maps?
That will have to be passed along to Pixel, who is working on the developer zones.
Hang on, let me write down that question so I can pass it on to her. I believe the next question is from Francis 7.
What?
You read the next question.
I was still trying to. Yeah, I know. I was trying to type it in there. Oh, well, actually, I was just wondering. In the developer zones are really great, but we really can't use the nudger to move anything around. It's really hard to set up, say, existing objects with something you're building right then. Any chance that Pixel could, implement the nudger within the development zones?
We can pass that along as well.
I will also pass that along. All right, I'm out of people asking me questions. Oh, I might still have some questions from the map. Hang on.
Hey, I have questions.
Go ahead, Sissy May, since I'm looking for more questions.
Quick, turn on paintball guns.
And Delore, your questions just aren't valid. Actually, yeah, we talked about that very early in the meeting. The sticky posts, everyone had commented that it was a really great change.
I didn't catch it. If there was another question, I didn't catch it.
Not exactly certain what you mean. So one of those things that we've talked about in the past, and I see actually kind of moving forward pretty soon. I shouldn't even say it's pretty soon because this is being recorded, but it is something that it is a project that we've been working on upgrading the forum software, and it actually has been something that not only have we been discussing, but actually have a proposal for and whatnot, and hopefully something that's going to get done. And one of the things that I've asked for is that things that get sticky maybe get separated into a higher, not higher section, but like separate from the regular posts, and I think that might actually be helpful, but I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, so we're going to see as we update the forum software. It's a good suggestion. I guess we can talk about that in another meeting.
Well, as the one of the things that as the developer site is being redone, been making it easier to create new documents. Like I mentioned before, the current site that we have isn't designed to scale very well. So the new site is going to make it a bit easier to make new documents.
Yay! Let's talk about the forums in the developer meeting. I believe Carcass has the next question, followed by Allure. Carcass's question is, with updates, has there been any thought given to revamping the DDS converter?
How so?
It apparently stinks.
Do I really have to elaborate? Should let Merritt handle that one.
Me, I have no complaints. I'm
You lie.
Well, I mean, if you mean the compression, I mean it's
the compression ratio is terrible.
Yeah, I mean the other.
It goes outward, not inward.
Part of it is knowing how to work around the compression. It's a 4x4, so if you always stay on kind of 4-pixel boundaries, you can actually.
Well, this I know, but it just gets to be a nuisance.
Yeah. The other side of it is you end up with 1 megabyte textures, and everybody lags out when they get near your stuff.
My biggest complaint on that is we should stop compressing cutouts, etc., although we may not need that much anymore. But it screws cutouts and opacity.
That it does.
Yeah, the cutout and opacities, those are pretty bad.
I'd even go back to 2 textures sometimes if it got rid of that compression.
Do you have better luck when you use one of the blend modes?
Not always.
Yes and no, but I did some testing and he still bleeds, but it's not as bad.
All right, the next question is from Allure. Allure is wondering if, with the props, if you'll be able to create attachments like in Second Life.
No fork sticking in your head.
Do I even want to go here?
I don't think I asked that question. How much is why do I have fire in my lap? How much are we getting the time of the engineers versus like the partners? Because I thought that there was at one point that we were going to be getting the time, that it wasn't, a lot of engineering time wasn't going to the partners. Is that still true?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, the partners pay the bills, so if they have certain needs, they can get engineering staff.
Are there any other questions from anybody? Looks like we're getting close to wrapping up. All right, System 8, what's up?
I'm not sure how that will be handled as far as scripting of objects. Most likely what would happen first would be adding certain parameters that you can change of objects. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point of just open-ended scripting. It's also possible that would be implemented in a sort of advanced developer program or Uber developer program.
That's Uber with 2 B's.
Transparency rendering issues. What does that mean?
Like when you have multiple opacity textures on an object, one object will bleed through on another. Is
It's a
that
double transparency bug.
Yes, yes. Is that going to be fixed? Is it possible to even be fixed?
Well, if you're talking about two-sided opacity, you never want to use two-sided opacity because you run into that. The problem with that is if you only have one texture and say it's in the shape of a cylinder and it's two-sided, and then you put another cylinder, that's two-sided inside of it, the renderer, the thing that's drawing the 3D objects, doesn't know which one to draw first, and no matter which one it picks, it's going to end up picking the wrong one. So whenever you do opacities, you want to use a single-sided texture.
Well, it seems like, even if you use a single-sided texture for opacities, it still doesn't do it. I can have 2 separate objects with a single-sided transparency, and they still bleed through each other. It depends on which way you look at it, but they do that still.
You mean against other objects in world or against itself?
It's always the same. It's always the same object.
If an object against another object, then it'll bleed through too. One object will come in front of the.
I've never seen that shit.
Well, I know it. If you do it against, if there's some other object and it's using a two-sided texture, I think the fun zones actually do a two-sided texture, which isn't all that great. The barriers around them. So if you have an object like that, you'll end up seeing things the wrong way.
Did the question get answered?
So it's never going to be possible to fix that.
Well, as far as the, doing a two-sided opacity, you just don't want to do that.
I have an X3D on the list of people to ask questions, Banshee.
Two-sided textures are bad in general. They don't light correctly either. If you look at the shading, the part that's outward, the normals are outward, will get lit correctly, but if you look at the opposite side, it's got the same lighting instead of being darker, if it's on the bottom.
Bizarre.
We have, sure we do. We got a sun.
That's not what he's asking.
The next question comes from For Sheets and Giggles, followed by Next 3D.
My question, I had previously typed it, was in regards to like the There Are Fun Times posters, the kiosks, these things for Cosmo Girl, the little prom posters. Is there a chance to ever make those even a paintable object that would, at minimum, automatically direct it to the owner's auction pages?
That's a very good question. I actually think that was going to be one of my upcoming suggestions for better shopping. I think that it would be too difficult to implement something like that open-ended to allow people to link to their own websites, because they can post inappropriate things on their websites, and we don't want people to just drop signs that say, hey, come look at my inappropriate porn site. But I think that it would be a really good idea to have it go to specific auction pages. So you know how every auction has an auction ID, maybe. I don't know how difficult that would be. That was totally up to the Chaz to answer that question. I just think that it's a great suggestion for us to have a way for people to create signs that link to their auction.
Right. Yeah. One of the projects that's on the list, which isn't necessarily mine, but is the whole Better Shopping thing that came out of a survey that was done a year ago. Part of that's the building the 2D side and making that better. But then one of the items that came out of the Better Shopping was 3D stores, in that some of the work has been done towards that, in terms of interactivity on making items that you can do things like point your auctions to.
Merritt, your sarcasm never ceases to make me laugh. Next 3D.
Oh, did you say it was my turn then?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, you broke up. Yeah, it's about avatar animations in future. Now, I'm assuming that you probably use Character Studio to do the current motion captured animations. Am I right there?
Yeah, they're done in a combination of a lot of them are just done in 3ds Max before Character Studio was integrated, so they're just regular skeleton animations. There's like 4 ways of doing animations.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering, it would probably be something way off into the future, but would it be possible to integrate developer-created avatar looped animations or emotes, into the program and submit them and have them? I mean, it's not an easy thing to do for a lot of people, I know, but you can learn how to do it. And I just think it would add a new dimension. It would be really fun, actually, if you could create your own little animations, like a few or something like that.
That's probably something that would be considered in that Uber developer program that we were talking about. Just because the tools that are set up for it aren't really refined very well. So there's like four different tools for doing animations, and a lot of the work setting them up is a manual process. So making it a general developer item, it would have to be a pretty expensive developer item.
No, not sex animations, no.
All right. It is now 6:30, and unless anyone has any last-minute, very Big questions. That is part of our discussion internally of better shopping Sysmade, and that is something that we are looking into.
Would be nice to have a place to store all our clothes instead of just in our inventory.
I just say give all your clothes storage to Chagall. She'll hold it all. So if there are no more questions, I would like to call it a night. Thank you all for coming. Feedback is always valuable. I've got a big long list of things to
When's the next one?
bring. 2 months. Every 2 months.
Thanks so much.